Alrighty there, gamers. Welcome back, everyone, to some more DualShock and the first recording of the new year, the DualShock podcast, episode 4, Dual Talk. Welcome back, everyone. Happy to be back.
Yes, sir.
We had a little bit of technical difficulties where we started the recording. We were kind of in a flow state. Streamlabs crashed. Big sad, but
These things happen in life.
dude, yeah, we've been having a little bit of tech problems. Hopefully, we'll be able to solve them by transitioning to a PC. I'm going to get some things that'll help us record on a PC that's actually moved out here. But I started the recording last time by saying new year, new me, all that stuff. And me personally, I'm like a very objective metric person. I like setting goals, and I don't know. That's just kind of how I'm coded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you, like, we talked a little bit in the previous recording attempt about you going to school and like, or potentially going to part-time school because like the new place that you're going to be working is offering some like part schooling, part
Working. Yeah.
yeah, and you were saying you wanted to do what exactly?
So I wanted to do mechanical engineering as my major because there's just a lot of jobs in the area that like can pay up to 6 figures for mechanical engineering. Not a guarantee that I'd get the job, but just something that I can actually make some serious money. You know, all of you out there can probably understand why I'm looking to try to make more money with the way the shit is. But without diving too deep into that, my minor though would be music production. I really want to get into music production too. And then, I don't know, like, I guess other like smaller goals that I want to have throughout the year is we were talking a little bit about what I like my process with recording music a little bit.
Yeah,
and
you guys fucking missed out. I'm sorry, but
it's all good. We'll just keep going where we were with that conversation. So like I was working on a cover this year and I learned a couple things from recording that cover about like my process and how I make songs. The way I had done it before is I would take all of these different tracks of instruments and record them up to a certain point in the song. And then just so I could hear how it would sound sonically all together, but I wouldn't finish the entire song like that. So then it would make me feel intimidated to finish the rest of the track. And with this new cover that I was working on, I fucked it up because I forgot 2 bars in the verse. So I have to restart, but I was liking the way that I was doing, like just the step-by-step process of it, where I was like, just do one, like focus one instrument at a time. Everything else will literally fall in line. So if I just do the guitar front to end, just hone in on how that sounds. Like, okay, is that where you want it to be sonically? Do you need to like fuck with it a little bit more? Or like, what do you need to do to like make this sound how you want? Then move on to the next piece, which would be like the bass or the next layer of guitar or whatever, and move on. But the whole track, move on. And then once you're done with all those, now you can go back over here and balance them out. I'm looking at it and balance them out. So it's like, okay, well, you know, I like how this sounds. I did all the EQing on it. Now I just need to make sure this is level with the other tracks I put on there. And it just makes the whole process that much easier because I don't have to like, the song's pretty much done in a way, you know, like the very last thing I was about to put on was the vocals, because the vocals is the easiest part. You can just get into a flow state with vocals because the track's done. So you can just sit there and listen to the instrumental like without any vocals and just like really feel what you're working on front to back. And then when you're like, okay, I'm going to put vocals on this, you don't have to be like, all right, I'm only singing up to the first chorus. You can just one take your vocals like it's almost a live performance and then tweak what you like and don't like about your vocal performance. And it just, that process in like as a whole, I feel like is more productive for me because then if I take a break from it and come back to it, like I said, it's structurally done. Now it's just tweaking.
Well, that's the thing too, is like, not even just like, it could be like a 15-minute break or like a month-long break or whatever. Like taking a break when you're like, especially with vocals, I would say more than anything, it's hard to match that energy that like, let's say you're at like a 10 out of 10, like you're well caffeinated, well rested or whatever, everything you need to be, and you're delivering how you want to. Taking a 15-minute break or a day break or a month break is not going to guarantee that like, okay, you have to build up to that energy that you were at and like where you want it to be. That's hard. So like, yeah, I could totally understand. It's like, oh yeah, let me do the vocals completely all the way through. That way, by the time I come back to it, I'm not like, I was more like, I was doing more of a, like an 11 out of 10 before, if that makes sense.
So and another thing I kind of learned too, I was watching like a documentary thing on the Beatles. when they were recording the song Twist and Shout, which was a cover back in the day. Uh, John Lennon was singing that song. He did so many takes on it that like his voice was starting to give out. Like his voice was getting raspy and giving out. And that was the take they ended up using because it just actually had so much like energy
Great.
behind it.
Yeah.
And like the thing I learned about that, I was like, well, maybe like your voice changes as far as tone goes all the time, depending on what you eat, depending on how tired you are or anything like that. So I was like, what if I did like a take today, right? And I'm like, okay, it sounds fine. And I save it. And then I come back like a week later and see how I'm feeling then and do another take without deleting that first one, just mute it. And then do another one and then maybe do another third one like another time. And then just see the difference between the three. Cause then maybe I'll be like, oh, you know what? I'm obviously hitting the notes right on the first one, but my voice tonally sounds better on this track.
There is likely going to be different parts that you like about different takes or whatever. So you could still do a little bit of pick and pull where it's just like in the pre-chorus, I actually like my voice on Monday. Or,
Yeah.
but dude, during the chorus, like the punchiness of Tuesday was like such a good take. I'm like, let me keep that
Or
instead.
yeah, or it's like like you say a line or like you say a specific lyric in a certain way on one recording, but that's the only part you like about that recording. You can be like, oh, well, I'll do another recording and do it similar to the first one I did, which I really liked how I was sounding there, but I'm gonna incorporate that lyric that I did on the second take because I liked the way I said it or the way I exaggerated the word or whatever. I'm going to put that in this recording too. Then you take bits and pieces of your performances and just kind of like do one performance that takes inspiration from all the ones before it. And then you have like the perfect vocal take.
Most definitely. Is there anything outside musically that you're going to be looking to work on, like out of your own, whether that be like, it could be anything. Like me personally, I don't like the general, like I do generalize goals of like, yeah, I want to start streaming more. Like that's one for me. But like, do you have any other ones, whether they're general or very like, man, I want to go to Vegas this year or something? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't like, not particularly besides like really what I'm doing. I mean, the school thing is a big thing I've been really thinking about just because I'm like, it would be nice to have something like just in the back pocket like that, like an education that I really think would be beneficial. So other than that, not really. I mean, obviously I want to do more things with music and I'm like really trying to figure out ways of making that more productive for myself because like people out there that make music like actually sit there and record it and layer up tracks and stuff. I mean, you all know how time consuming that can be. People out there that do that. I mean, because you'll sit there and just be like a perfectionist with yourself and like, okay, like this track's not working. Like I don't like the way I'm saying this one word. So I think the big thing for me, because I really care about like making music, I don't really care for it to like particularly go anywhere. It'd be cool if it would, but you know, I just enjoy doing it.
Is there anything outside of your personal, like, do you, for instance, do you have any goals with like the channel or anything, things that you'd like to hit, things you'd like to do?
As far as the channel goes, I know that there's stuff this summer that I want to do for sure, but it like we talked about this a little bit too off camera, but like it's so hard to sometimes to juggle those like two different aspects of your life. Like one that has to take priority and one that you want to take priority, you know?
Oh,
and
I know.
like it just sucks because sometimes you have to put something you want to do on the back burner because you're too concerned with like something you have to do. And like I'm referring to like, you know, obviously having your day job and then your hobbies, right? Like you had to do that throughout 2024, which fucking sucks. And then I have to do that like at the end of 2024 going into 2025 and that sucks. And it's just the stress of that just sucks. And but yeah, there's goals with the channel that we've talked about like way before that I'd like to do, especially over the summer when it's like warmer outside. We can do actual like vloggy type videos, like with golfing and stuff like that. And we have some other videos that I really want to do that I don't want to spoil, but yeah, I mean, like there's some, like I want to do stuff outside of just like what we typically do too, just to kind of like shake things up on the channel. You and I have talked about that, but
A nice objective metric that I'd like to hit for the channel, which I think is pretty doable, is getting 200 subs by the end of the year. And then anything after that is just like icing on top.
I agree.
But that's just me. Like I like setting like a very like a numeric goal or whatever. Cause I have a bunch of goals. Like some are vague, some are more like I got one of them done already, which is I wanted to commentate my locals. and
Yeah.
commentate on stream, and I got
Right
to do
on.
that.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to, technically I hit it last year, but that was going to be this year's goal, was to get 1,000 subs on my channel.
Nice. Congratulations, by the way, dude. That's fucking awesome.
The next goal is to get 100 subs on Crouch Block.
Okay, right on.
Which is actually pretty close. I think I'm at 89 right now.
Nice.
And for that only being like a part-time channel, I'm very happy with that.
Yeah.
And then the last one I could think of is I want to make a video that could be on Crouch Block, that could be on this channel, that could be on my channel, but I want it to hit 5 digits.
Okay.
I want it to hit 10,000 views.
Yeah.
Because I've made videos that have hit like 2, 3, 5,000, but
yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a good, like, okay, like, I'm doing the right thing.
Right. Like, you're something about, like, these particular videos are, like, resonating with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just, like, phone it in stuff. Like, I want it to be, like, a genuinely good... And that's kind of the buff that Crouchblock has going for it, is, like, that's just the good content channel.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, anything outside of that is, like, very vague. Like, I want to, like, start working out more. I want to start streaming more, which I have been doing. I've been doing my push-ups.
Yeah, I was literally thinking, it's funny you say that, I was literally thinking about going at some point today to the gym, because I just finally got to the period where my doctor said I could go back, because I had dental surgery, and he said I had to wait till the first of the year before I could do anything strenuous, because he didn't want me to, like, put a blister in my empty sockets. Like, I know that's fucking violent. I didn't mean to like, say it like that, but like that's why. So I have to wait till now, but now I can go back to the gym. So I'm like pretty excited about that, because I was bummed that I had to stop working out for a period of time there. But yeah, dude, are there any like hobbies that you want, like new hobbies you want to pick up, or like you're like really looking forward to doing? Because I can name one that I've been really putting off, and I really want to do it.
What is it?
It's snowboarding, dude. I really want to go snowboarding. And I just, like, it's either we don't have any snow, like this winter we didn't get any snow, but like last winter, like we got so much, but like I just couldn't afford to go. And it's like, I could have probably gone once or twice this winter, but there was no snow. So it's like, it sucks. I have all this snowboarding gear because I want to go really bad. And yeah, I just haven't been able to go. But that's one thing I want to do. What about you?
As far as like skills based, because like I'm such a dude where I like to like, I'm a master of none, dude. Because like I can play the guitar, not amazing at it. I love fighting games. I can juggle. I did a little bit of card magic. I like to skate. I draw. I started learning a little bit of coding forever ago. Like all of these things. Like I'm obviously an editor and stuff like that. Something new though? I mean, I would totally be down to go snowboarding with you. I think if it wouldn't be snowboarding, I would love to go surfing.
Oh yeah, surfing would be really cool too.
I know you're not a water guy.
No, I'm not, but I've been out in the water. So I mean, I can't say I wouldn't do it, but yeah.
Outside of what I listed, like there's plenty of things that you do, but there's plenty of things we do together. Of like, we've gone and played tennis for like multiple hours.
Yeah, and I want to do that more. Yeah.
We like, I can throw a baseball okay, better than a lot of people I know, not better than this guy, but like, you know, it's weird that I never thought of that as a skill until I saw people that couldn't throw a baseball or a football. I'm like, wait, hold on. There's something a little...
That's so odd. That, like, I remember you saying that too. You're like, damn, like you throw a football or baseball like way better than people. I'm like, really?
You don't think about it, but...
I don't, because I just feel like, I mean, I don't know. Like, isn't that a skill that you like learn pretty young? I feel like most people learn pretty young. Like,
but
just
some
learning to throw a ball.
Didn't.
I guess that's true.
Well, because like I remember distinctly. Welcome back to story time. I remember distinctly. I took a bunch of friends from my hometown to the park. It's like, hey guys, like let's go hang out. Like, let me get all you fucking nerds outside. I'm gonna bring a football. We'll have a good time. Throw it back and forth. And I'm just like, all right, like go along. So you know, I'll give myself a little credit. I have a decent cannon on my existence. And I was like, all right, bro, like throw it back to me. And he doesn't even make it halfway. I'm like, oh. And that was the realization. I was like, maybe this isn't something that people can just like do, and you just don't think about it.
No, yeah. Yeah, that's true. You don't really think about it. Well, I kind of grew up playing sports. You know, like I grew up not football. I was too small for football, but I played baseball pretty much my whole life up till I graduated. So I played a lot of baseball. And then I got into golf in my adult life. But like I've always been
I want to go so bad.
like a decent athlete. Like I wouldn't say I like was the best player on the team, but I don't think I was the worst player on the
You
team
could do
either.
the thing.
Yeah, like once again, master of none. I wasn't great at it, but I was good at it, you know? Like so I mean like but yeah, I guess you don't really think about that cuz it's like one of those things where it's like you've been throwing a baseball since you were 5 or you know, or a football since you were like I don't even play football, but I know how to throw one, you know?
Yeah, man.
Like
Like, shout out to my oldest brother. Like, he was one of the reasons, because my dad didn't go out with me a lot to, like, throw a baseball or throw a football. But my oldest brother, he'd be like, all right, Bradley, like, let's go, like, grab the football, bro. Like, let's go. And then he'd be like, he's the reason I can throw a football or a baseball well.
right on.
Where, like, dude, I remember we would go to, like, the end of the court. He'd be like, just go as far as you can. Just throw it as hard as you can. Everything you got. And, yeah, dude, like, he's the reason I can, like, fucking chuck one.
Yeah.
But, like, what I remember going to, like, the basketball courts too. Like, if I lock in on basketball, I can shoot okay, never amazing, but it was another revelation like that where I took a friend to the basketball courts, like, let's just play a little casual one-on-one, like nothing serious. Dude, I fucking worked him, and I am like, I'm not a like good basketball player.
Yeah, that's the one. I feel like I would be better at throwing a football and baseball than I would be shooting a basketball. Like I can shoot a basketball, but that's like the one where I'm like, I'm just like not the greatest at it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I can bounce around on the court and like I know my way around a basketball, but like I'm not like I wouldn't even say I'm good at basketball like at all. I would say I'm pretty good at baseball. I would say that I could probably throw a football decently. I don't know. Like,
See, this is like explaining the caliber of where I'm at. He's saying he's not like good at the thing with basketball, and he's I would say a little bit better of a shooter than I am. Because
really? I don't know. I knuckleball the shit out of the ball. You remember that? You'd be like, how are you like just force pushing the ball into the fucking...
Dude, last time we played a horse, like...
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you were like there was a day where I was kind of locked in, and we had a really good back and forth, actually. But, like, edge-wise, outside of that, you were, like, draining them more than I was. Not that we're doing particularly great, but still.
Well, broken clock's right twice a day, right? I mean, if
I
I
don't know if that lines up in this situation.
I think it does, because, like, if I shoot, like, 100 fucking basketballs, right, I'm bound to make a couple. You know? Like, of course, like, there's going to be times where I, like, shoot, and I'm just like, oh, shit, I made 3 in a row. Like, that was, like, just a throw of the dice, you know? But, like, 3 in a row out of 89 shots. Like,
bro, it reminds me of when I was a kid, though. Like, anytime I think about basketball, like, I never really followed basketball, but I do have a team. It's the Celtics. I'll watch like highlights, but I don't really follow sports like that anymore. But the thing about basketball was in a neighborhood full of kids, massive game of knockout. So, dude, that was...
I remember doing that as a kid too. I had a buddy that had like a basketball hoop in his driveway, and we'd have like 6 of us playing knockout in his driveway. Dude, it was fun. Yeah,
we had like, I shit you not, we had like 15 kids.
Dude, you know what's funny? Bringing that up, I think we've maybe talked about this. I know we've like danced around this subject before on the podcast, but I don't know if I've specifically said this. But like when I was at my mom's the other day, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go take a walk. I just decided, like, my mom lives out in a golf course, so it's like a really kind of like just a neighborhood you can walk around and stuff. It's kind of isolated from the rest of the town in a way. And I was like, I'm just going to go take a walk. And I just took like a giant lap, like just around the neighborhood. And like, it was really nice. And like, I haven't really done something like that in a while. I used to like walk around here and stuff like that. But like, sometimes I just like taking a walk. It's like a good way to like clear your mind, get your thoughts straight on like whatever you're thinking about or whatever. I like taking walks. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take a walk. And I took a walk. And the thing I noticed like halfway through my walk, I was like, dude, like, because I grew up in that neighborhood too, in a way. Like when I was like, I want to say like just getting into high school, my parents had lived in a different house on that golf course. And I had friends that lived there. So like it was kind of like a trip down memory lane, literally, in a way, because I kind of forgot how many people I knew that lived there growing up.
Yeah.
So and that wasn't my intention at all. I was just walking down the street and I was like, oh shit, that's like so and so's house. And I was like, crazy. I was like, that's my old house right there. And just as I'm like walking around, just noticing these things, and then I was thinking about like being that age. And like, even when I was a kid, having friends that lived out there, I would go over to their house, you know, and we would play airsoft or something in like in the area or whatever. We'd shoot BB guns at each other, or fucking, you know, play basketball, like you said. And walking around there, I just had this like kind of dystopian feeling, because I was like, I don't think it's necessarily me that's changed all that much. I think life in general has changed a lot. And it's the thing that made me realize that is I saw no fucking kids playing in the street. Not that that was what I was looking for. Don't fucking, I'm just saying, like, I was just walking around and thinking about that. I was just like, yeah, I used to be like right here and playing. And then I looked around, like I was in the present moment, and I was like, huh. I was like, there aren't any fucking kids out. I was like, it's a nice day out. It's like, and I was like, what's today? And I think it was a Saturday. I was like, it's a Saturday at 2 p.m. And like, this would be prime time, like ride my bike around at least.
Absolutely.
You know, or like, and it was just weird. I'm like, and then it dawned on me. I'm like, why would you go outside in 2025 when you could get on your PlayStation and play online with your friends there? Or even little kids are more glued to their tablets. Parents would just be like, here, take a tablet, get the fuck away from me. My parents would be like, go outside, don't come back till the street lights come on. Literally, that's what my parents would tell me. They're like, get the fuck out of the house. They would literally tell me. I'd be like, well, I want to play my PlayStation 2. Be like, you can play your PlayStation 2 at night. Get the fuck out of my house. Come back when the street lights come on. When the street lights come on, that is your cue to come home. I'd be like, okay. So I just literally had to walk out front sometimes and be like, I guess I just have to figure out something to do. And like, in a way, I definitely know we've talked about this, but in a way, it like forces you to be creative.
Oh, most definitely.
So
like,
if you take that level of creativity away from a child, it's like, do you think that's detrimental to their development? I do.
Absolutely.
And it's just having that realization like a week ago, that's what made it feel a bit dystopian to me. It's like, we are so disconnected as a society than we've ever been before. Like, people just, I remember my mom telling me a story when I was talking to her, and she was like, I remember when we were kids, like, all the neighbors knew each other. Like, we would have the neighbors come over, we would go over there, they would like, it was literally like, go over to their house and ask if they have extra thing of butter, because we just don't happen to have it right now. We're not trying to run up to the store. And they'd be like, oh yeah, here, go, because we're trying to cook something. And like, that's just how people were.
Yeah, it was a community back then. Like,
and it's not like that anymore.
No, it was the same thing for me and my family. Like, I talked to you recently where I was just like, oh yeah, man, sometimes when I go back to my hometown, like, I'll visit my friends that I used to be neighbors with parents, and like they're there as well.
Right.
Back when I was like 12, and then they'd be like, oh my God, you're so tall now, you have a beard, you look old as fuck. But dude, yeah, like, I used to talk to all my neighbors. Like, one of that same neighbor, the neighbor on the other side of me, he and I used to, like, I'd be like, Mom, I'm gonna go over to Kevin's house. Kevin was like 3 or 4 years older than me. I was like 12, he was like 16. But he's like, oh, do you like Dragon Ball Z? I'm like, hell yeah, I like Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
And we would literally play Tenkaichi 3 for like hours, bro. Like, he and I would go hard on that game. And like we would go out, like, me and him, we would shoot hoops, and then him and his cousin, his older cousin, would come out too. And then I think both of his cousins would come out, and yeah, we'd get like games of soccer, or like, oh yeah. And then at the house before that, it used to be like, dude, I knew everybody in the neighborhood. I knew everybody in the neighborhood a street over.
Sure.
It'd be like, oh hey, Mrs. So and so, like, is Desmond and Ronan home? Like, can they come out? And it's like, oh, they're playing GameCube right now. Why don't you come in? And then we'd play like Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects, and then fucking yeah, like, dude, you just knew everybody. And like my parents would talk to my friends' parents, and then it's like, oh, let's like come over, like, and you guys can like swim, and we can make some food or whatever, have some drinks or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a sense of community. People talk to each other. And now everyone's so focused on being inside. And granted, I understand that. I am not trying to talk to anybody. I don't really care about my neighbors. I'm going to be real.
I was really thinking about this though. And I'm the same boat as you right now, where I'm like, I would rather be inside. And I think everybody feels that way. And I really sat there for a little bit, and I was thinking about why that is. And I think it's because, in a way, it is social media. I really think it's that. And the reason why I think that is because there was a time, like, I feel more, my parents are pretty young. I feel more connected to their generation than even kids that are like 15, 16 right now.
Oh, yeah.
I feel more connected to them because even though I did grow up with technology here and there, like I had a console in the living room, but my parents, they're in their 40s. They had a console in the living room too. Like my parents grew up in the 80s and 90s, so they had like a Nintendo or something. Like I wasn't that, our generations weren't that different.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so I feel more connected to my parents in that way where I'm like, yeah, my childhood was very similar to your guys's in a way, and like how I grew up. But shit, I just told. Oh yeah, so social media. So I think the reason why that is because people were just, the more people, like, think of it this way. People can say whatever the fuck they want on social media, but guarantee you, if they saw you in person, their demeanor would change dramatically. Because even though you may not agree with that person on certain topics, I feel like in person, you would still be friendly and courteous to each other and like be respectful, you know? And I feel like now that like the veil's been lifted in a way to where it's like you see people for what they truly think and what they truly are through the internet, people are more jaded about their common neighbor. So it's like in the past growing up where the internet wasn't so prominent, it's like, yeah, you may not agree politically or whatever the fuck, or religiously or however you want to fucking label it. But you still be respectful to each other and be like, hey, you want to come over and fucking have a beer or something? I'm barbecuing. Like you're just, and you find common ground. Something about like in-person interaction. It's like you can't help but want to try to like in the conversation, like find common ground, or like people were just more interacting with each other in person back then. I feel like today it's like, well, so-and-so said this on Facebook, fuck them. So I don't really want to talk to them anymore, block. Or it's like they're part of this group and they're part of this group and everyone's just kind of in a culture war. We're literally in a culture war, I feel like right now as a country.
I also would say it's like you don't have to worry so much about tiptoeing around people's egos as well. Like I feel like people are more sensitive now than ever to getting their feelings hurt.
100%. Yeah.
And it's just like when you, that's another thing about like getting to know people. We talked about, it's like, man, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't really care to make new friends.
Right.
Or like people at work, it's like, oh yeah, we should go hang out. And I'm hitting them with
same.
Yeah. Which means as nice as you are, no.
I'm in the same boat though. We literally talked about this. I'm like in the same boat, like where it's people are cool, but I have this kind of like jaded perspective on people too, where it's like, I don't think they're necessarily a bad person, but like, I'm not so trusting of people anymore.
Not even just like the trust aspect, but it's like you're learning what to like tiptoe around. It's like, okay, what like, how do I need to treat you as an individual? Where if I don't interact with you, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But also people want to like, oh yeah, like dude, there's been random people that have fucking come up to me as like, oh dude, like thank you for dropping this off. It's like, yeah, my wife left me last week. I'm like, I didn't ask. What the fuck?
Yeah. But then like if you try to like say some real shit about like a situation like that, you don't know how they're going to react. Like I feel like we're two people for the most part who are pretty down to earth and just there's enough humility, I think, in both of us to where like if someone were to say some real shit to us, like even if I don't agree with what they're saying, I can't help but respect the honesty.
Or even just like ponder on it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that like helps me when I like meet new people too, is that I'm just really down to earth and honest. I don't like the idea of putting on this fake mask and hello, how are you? Oh yeah, the sun's yellow today. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just cut through all that bullshit where I'm like, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. I fucking just woke up an hour ago. I'm just not feeling like, I'm just super down to earth. And I think people, for the most part, people respect that. And I think like, it's the same situation as you. Like, I feel like you're in the same situation too. Or like, I think that's why people want to hang out with us at work. But I'm like, just because I'm like that to you doesn't mean you're being like that to me. Like, I don't feel like I'm really knowing who you are. I feel like you're putting up some sort of front with me.
Yeah.
And that's the trusting part where I'm like, I'm not putting up a front at all with who I am. I am who I am. I'll say the same shit I say to you that I'll say to my lead. Will I curse to my lead? No, obviously you got to be professional. But my attitude, if he asks me a question up front, I will tell him the straight up answer of how I feel. I don't care if that's something he likes to hear. In my perspective, if I were that boss or lead, I would respect that my employee is being upfront and honest with me. How am I as a leader supposed to know how my employees feel if they're being like, oh, yep, just I love it here. It's my favorite job in the world. Like, how are they supposed to make your job and life easier if you're lying? Like, but I feel like I'm like that with everybody. I don't feel like people are like that back to me. And that's why I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't like, yeah, I'm cool with you. I don't hate you. I'll be cool with you at work. I'll talk to you and be real like I would with anybody else. But are you being like that with me?
Like, it's not as if I like hate my coworkers. Like, a lot of them are genuinely nice. And then when I get the like, oh, like we should go out. Like, another factor is like the financial aspect. If I'm being completely like honest with you guys, like I have this kid that I work with as like, oh yeah, dude, I got like some edibles. Like if you want to buy them off me or whatever, I'm just like, oh yeah, for sure. Like he was just saying, like he DM'd me yesterday. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, do you want to buy these? I'm like, dude, like, you know, last check really fucked me over for this check, so I just can't. So that's why it's like, oh, hey, we should go like see a movie. Like Nosferatu's out right now. Like, you want us to go see that? I'm like, I would love to, but dude, like movie equals buy movie tickets, which might be cheap. Yeah. But it's also like, of course I'm gonna want to get popcorn. Of course I'm gonna want to get candy or whatever to make it through the movie. And then like yeah, you want to get a beer? I'm like, that sounds fantastic. Yeah. And before you know it, you spent $50.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
I'm just like, damn, I got to make this like $200 or whatever dollars last. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, the thing I'm splurging on right now is going to my locals. And it's like, one, because I want to support the scene. And two, I'm wildly in love with fighting games. But like, you know, last year kind of seeping into this year has been like the financial hurt locker. And hopefully looking to like bounce back from that a little bit and just like actually feel comfortable living my life.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's plenty of things to look forward to, which, you know, kind of on the financial aspect too. Like if a new game comes out, guess what? That's fucking $60 minimum.
Dude, like, yeah, I want to touch more on like the gaming aspect of things, but just to go back to the coworker thing, I don't hate my coworkers either. I'm not trying to say that. I don't. I think my coworkers are cool. It's just that like, and I'm not even saying that they are being fake with me. It's just that like, I don't really know. And a lot of people are fake. That's what I'm trying to say. Straight. And I know that I'm not. So that like disconnect for me is part of the reason. A big part of it is also financially, but that's a part of it for me too. Like I don't have a problem with my coworkers. They're cool and stuff. It's just that like, people can be shitty, dude. And it's like, do I really want to waste the time? You know, like, I don't want to bother wasting the time on something that like, you know, isn't like, who knows? Like, I don't know. That's just
more on like people like being shitty. Like I've had, and you've had people that you've known for like a long time. Yeah. It's like, you think you know this person and then they turn around and then be shitty. It's like, okay, when I don't even know you.
Exactly. Like, and I know that's a trauma response for sure. Like, but I can't help but like feel like it's a justifiable response when you like start to really recognize people for who they are and they show you their true self. It could take fucking 2 months. It could take fucking 8 years of you knowing a person. Doesn't matter. Once they show you their true self, it's like, all right, I'm out. Like, I'm done.
In a way, is that better that like you don't have a ton of mental or emotional investment in someone to be like, all right, like you fucking suck. It's like, is it then better like for like a lifelong friend to turn around and be fucked up to you, or versus like someone you're just like, all right, I just wanted to go out for a beer with you. Go fuck yourself.
I don't know. It's just like, I guess it really comes down to like, what is important to you?
Yeah.
Are social circles like that important to you in your life? Like, if they are, then yeah, take the gamble and go out and have the beer. Like, if you're at a point in your life where you're like, you know what, I've kind of done that rodeo a few times. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't really need that kind of shit in my life anymore. Then I feel like you're justified in not doing it either. It's really like what you feel like is necessary in your life. I feel like, and for me personally, I'm just at a point in my life right now where I feel like I've done a lot of the partying and I've done a lot of just hanging out with friends, and I just want to focus more on myself in that way, you know?
Most definitely.
Once again, don't have a problem with those people. It's just my attitude about stuff like that is like shifted dramatically. And I don't hate people. It's just that like
I do.
I just don't really necessarily have the time or money or the attitude really to venture out beyond that. And I don't feel like I'm alone in that. I think a lot of people feel that way. But I think that goes back to what I was saying. Like everyone's kind of isolated and doing their own thing. COVID had a lot to do with that too, though. That I think is just like rewired people's brains into thinking it's normal to be not so connected to everyone around you other than through your phone. I think in a way that's why the gaming industry, like I know people are like shaky on like how AAA developers have been towards the gamer lately, but I still think it's a fucking monumental moneymaker, that industry. And it's so crazy to think that like something that I was doing as a kid that was just kind of like, oh, it's whatever. Like people didn't look at gaming the way they do now. Like gaming was just kind of like the console was in the living room. When you had the extra maybe 30 minutes you could play. Because games were so much shorter back in the day too. They're not nearly as long as they are now. Now gaming is like,
it's a narrative.
it's fucking like massive, dude. Like everybody does it. Dude, like even when I was like my fucking job, dude, that I literally just got was like, we're doing VR training.
Yeah, I was saying to you that that's probably the best way to get like the closest thing to hands-on experience without actually doing the thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Which it is smart and it's a good way of like using your resources effectively, but it is also like a little bit what would be the word? Like it puts you in a state of awe, like how the world has shifted, where it's just like, okay, even down to my fucking job, like things are fundamentally changing.
Yeah, dude. Like that's the crazy thing about it is like it felt like I was playing a video game too. That's the thing that was crazy. It was like a scenario situation of like, what do you do in this situation? But it was like choice dialogue and shit. I had to choose what to do.
Damn, the fucking telltale.
Literally, telltale fucking, I'm not even gonna say what my job is, but like that. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like it was blowing my mind. And then like everybody was like familiar with the technology already because everybody fucking played video games in my class.
Yeah.
Even my trainer was talking about like, oh yeah, this is like when you have to go around and be like, what's your name? What's your favorite place to go to? What's your favorite color? All that bullshit. My trainer was like, oh yeah, like my favorite thing to do is I have my friends come over and we play Mario Kart on my Switch and stuff. Like it's just so much more common to be like open about the fact you play video games. Like that was just not a thing like 15, 20 years ago or even less than that. Like it's just crazy that the state of like, that's why you get these like huge budget television shows like Fallout and The Last of Us is because gaming is at a point now where it's like, I feel like you're somewhat in the minority if you don't even casually play video games. Like, is that crazy or what?
I want you to think a little bit harder about how far you're thinking back too, because 15, 20 years ago was the Xbox 360.
I'm walking away.
Well, like the social norm and structure for gaming has changed.
Let me throw this away.
Oh, okay, you're good. The social like structure for how gaming has changed so much where like it used to be the arcades where like dude the social culture behind arcades, like there's still an arcade scene in Japan, and as far as I know exclusively Japan. There are places that emulate the arcade scene with like consoles and whatnot, but in Japan there's Street Fighter 6, the arcade cabinet. Like it was normal to like, oh hey, like we're all gonna meet up at the arcade, we're gonna like grind out some like fighting games or like Pac-Man or whatever it may be. Like because I follow the fighting game scene, it's like if you wanted to get nice at a fighting game, what you would do is there, like let's say Street Fighter 3 Third Strike or Marvel 2, there's a Marvel 2 cabinet. So there would be a line of people, you'd put your quarter on the cabinet to signify that you were like next up in line.
Right.
And what would happen is it would be winner stays. So if you wanted to get nice, you won and you kept on winning because your money was on the line. And the significance of what a quarter meant was that quarter is your chance to play.
Yeah.
If you fail at that chance to play, you hit the back of the line. And like, yeah, it was a social event to go game. It was like, hey, let's all meet up at the arcade. And after, let's go grab some food or let's go out for dinner or whatever. And then like we can maybe go back to my house or whatever, have some drinks or whatever. Like it was different. But yeah, now it's all inside. It's like, oh, hey, do you want to come over to play Mario Kart. Like the infrastructure of how gaming has changed a lot over the years.
Yeah, I agree. Like even going back to like the arcade things, it just makes me think to like when I was a kid, I remember like after baseball practice and stuff, the whole team would go to like a pizza place.
Yeah.
And like all the parents would like get to know each other and stuff. They'd have like a pitcher of beer and pizza, and the kids would go play in like what was the arcade section of the pizza place, which I feel like there still are arcade games.
When we went to the bar and you saw Hydro Thunder,
Goated, dude.
it was the same thing. It was
I don't know what the issue is here, dude. That
There's
game is
no
fucking-
issue, but it's just nothing's changed.
Nothing. Well, for me, but like I feel like today I don't see anybody like reacting that way. Like when I was a kid, it was like I remember there was like one pizza place that had like a fuck ton of arcade games because there would be tons of kids that would like.
Shit, man, I'll
that
go
was
to
like
the
the
bar
fun
after
part
this.
of going to a pizza place. You're like, dude, I get to play these fucking arcade games. And like I feel like you'll maybe see one, maybe two arcade games at a pizza place now, and nobody's on them.
Okay, so like expanding more on what I was talking about. So you had the arcade scene, you had the arcade era. You know, there was consoles that existed at the time.
That's how I played Tekken 3, dude.
But as the next generation is, hey, do you want to come over and play the PS2 locally?
Sure.
Or like LAN parties. Like
Yeah,
bring your
LAN parties for
computer-
sure.
Bring
yeah.
your computer over, or your Xbox will hook up TVs and shit.
Sure.
And then it transitioned away from that to now into the online generation where it's like, hey, do you want to play games? Let's hop in a squad of Fortnite, or
Yeah.
let's play Siege online.
But that's what I'm saying is like, why would you go do that when you can Discord? You don't even have to be playing the same fucking game. You can literally just get in a Discord and be like, what are you playing? I'm like, oh, I'm playing this. And what are you playing? I'm playing this. And then just bullshit. You can do that. Like, there's no need to leave the comfort of your home for anything, dude. Even if you want fucking pizza, it's like you could do delivery before, but now you can DoorDash everything, dude. Like,
So like that's been a big conversation point about like in the fighting game scene of cuz like there's locals, right?
Sure.
Where it's just like, oh, okay, like locals, like in the 360 and PS3 generation, it was all about going to your locals, supporting your locals, because one, the net code back then sucked dick,
right.
but two, it was offline was the best way to play a fighting game.
Yeah.
Now with like the online integrity of games getting much better, it's kind of pulling that same question of like, why would we go to locals when I can just grind online?
Yeah, but like you're taking away something that's kind of cool about going to something like that, which is you meet new people that have similar interests in you, and that's how you make new friends. And like that, dude, that's literally how like I made friends as a kid. Is like I would go to those like fucking arcades and like people I played baseball with, and it's like, oh, dude, that's cool. Like, oh, you like this game, dude? Why don't you ask your mom if you come stay the night at my house? I have this game on my PS2 and play it. Like when you're a kid, that's how you made fucking friends. It's like, how are you supposed to make friends now? Like, unless you like just open mic in a video game, but like, where are you from? Nebraska? Like, I feel like that's the only way you can really meet people, besides maybe like in your school when you're a kid, you meet people. But even then, I feel like just the attitude about like how people interact with each other has changed so much because of the internet. And I like, in some ways, I think it's really cool, like connecting with people that maybe you haven't seen since high school. Like, you know, even say 25, 30 years ago, like if someone like once you graduated from high school, it was really hard to reconnect with people that you once went to school with, because you had no contact with them unless you had their phone, right? But like they're not in your day-to-day life. Now you can like somewhat keep up with people you went to high school with. You follow them on social media and just see how they're doing. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that person. I haven't seen them in fucking 10 years. Hope they're doing well. And you know, like you're in a way connected with them through social media. So there's a positive to it. Or even
Most
family
definitely.
members that live across the country, you can connect with them that way. But there's also a lot of negative that comes with that too, you know? It's like there's no need for like people in your day-to-day life to maintain a relationship with, because you could just talk to them on the phone or text them or fucking play a video game with them. Like you don't need to go see them, you know? And I think there's something important about going and seeing people and spending time with people in person. You get to you're there with them. Your time is like not being taken away by anything else, but like the time you're spending with them, regardless like of like the circumstance, you know? And I just think there's something important about doing that. Like you need to get out and touch grass, literally is the meme, but it's true, dude. Like you do need to get out and fucking go do a couple things here. But even I'm guilty of being like, dude, it's been months since I've been out of my apartment and done anything. Like I get it. That's why I'm saying like, it's just, I've given that a lot of thought, where it's just like, it's crazy that it feels like COVID was yesterday and it was 5 years ago.
But also nothing's changed.
Exactly. And it's because of the way things are with COVID.
But also like kind of part of that monetary struggle as well, where like, you know, another thing of like why people are just like, why would I go to locals if I can just play online, is like, you know, if you want to enter your locals, you got to throw out like a couple bucks. Some locals are more expensive than others. Like, I don't really have the spare money. I get that. I totally do. Like I support if I can. I want to go if I can because I love competition. More on the point of the whole COVID situation is like, okay, we're stuck inside our house. We're getting used to this way of living, but also now that we don't have to do that, things are more expensive now than ever. Like, existing outside my home is more expensive now than ever. And I was already accustomed to this way of living, but you're giving me less incentive to go out on top of that. So it's like reinforcing this technically negative behavior, because you should go out. You should have a desire to go out, whether that's just like you know, I want to go get some food, or I want to go hang out with some friends.
Exactly.
I want to go to the bar. Let's go to the park.
Yes.
I feel like I can't leave my home without spending a minimum of fucking $50.
Dude, I really, really feel that though. Like it's not even an exaggeration. Like, a lot of it, I do think has a lot to do with that too. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like nobody can afford to do a goddamn thing right now. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with that. But it just even reinforces the idea, at least in my head, where it's like, sure, initially paying up front the money to play a video game, yeah, it's a lot, but it's like, I could replay this game however many times. It's got like, all I need to do is basically keep up with my power bill and internet bill, which are necessities in life at this day and age, especially the internet. Who would have thought the internet was something you have to have? You definitely have to have internet in 2025. You don't, how are you going to apply for jobs? How are you going to check on fucking emails from work? How are you going to, you have to have the internet. So as long as you have those two things, which you have to have, why not game? You save money by doing it. You could sit in your room and just play fucking video games and eat top ramen and live that way. Literally, like, you save money by doing that.
As a PC gamer, like, talk about initial investment, where it's just like, you know, the cost for consoles nowadays is like, dude, so much more expensive. I mean, a PS5 was like what, $500-600, something like that.
Yep.
Where a PC its initial investment is obviously more, but like over time, it's like, oh, dude, all these Steam sales. I got the entire Doom collection for a shoelace.
Yeah, for real though.
And I'm just like, it balances out over time. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, you get crazy ass deals where like. But like, you know, I was gonna ask you after this, is like, oh hey, like we could go to the bar, grab a pitcher, play some pool or whatever.
I'm down, 100%.
But yeah, like, not that I'm not down for it, but it's just like, oh yeah, if we want to do that, it's like,
yeah, but you just got to consider like how much that's gonna cost. 100%, dude. Like, even when the last time I went, I was like, how much is a pitcher? It's like, that's probably like $8. The lady was like, it's $14. I'm like, fucking $14 for a fucking pitcher? Like,
fortunately, it's almost happy hour.
It really is. But you know, the other thing I've noticed, I've always been like, we talked about like I was like somewhat of an athlete. Like I was, but I've always been like at heart like a dorky, nerdy kid. I've always been like that. I've always found video games to be fascinating, even when it wasn't fucking cool. I always found stuff like sci-fi and Star Wars to be cool, even when it wasn't fucking cool and popular. Same with fucking Marvel. I was always like into comics and Marvel, even when that shit wasn't cool. It is just so baffling to me that all of these things that like you would be made fun of as a kid, right? That you had interest as a kid is like mainstream popular now. Like, so like even retro collecting, dude, like I'm not a huge retro collector. It's crazy to think that my generation is considered retro now, but
yeah.
Like I collect retro games. Like I have a lot of PS2 games. I have a PS3. I've got a ton of PS3 games. A lot of them I kept from childhood. Some I rebought from my childhood, but I like having them, right? Going with that, like I think it's important to have something like that from your childhood that you carry into adult life. And the reason I think that is because your childhood, the things that you find joy in your childhood are some of the things that are like near and dear to your soul at that period in your life. And I think it's important to hold on to whatever that is all the way through your life, because it represents a part of you to your core, you know? And I think to have that one thing or a couple things that like, it doesn't stop you from being an adult. and having responsibilities and be like doing what you have to do. If it gets in the way of that, that's a problem, right? But I don't think there's anything wrong with carrying something like that throughout your life. It represents who you are, you know? And so it's crazy to me to think, because like I always felt that way about collecting retro stuff. Like I was like, this is a part of who I am. This is part of like my childhood and stuff, and I want to carry it with me. Like it's something I want to take with me throughout life, you know? Because it's like if I let that go, I'm forgetting my childhood in a way, you know? And I don't want to forget who I was as a kid. That's who I am now. So like going into retro collecting when I started doing it, it was like not that popular. It was like kind of niche. You would go to like a retro store and find a bunch of fucking games. Be like, oh, all right, like fucking $5 for Tony Hawk. Cool. I'll buy that. And then like, you'd be like, oh shit, I forgot about that game. Like I'm totally going to grab that. I had that when I was a kid. Like that's cool. Just to have, you don't even have to play it, just to have it. And then as time has progressed, especially since COVID, retro collecting has gotten so fucking popular. It's insane, dude.
Yeah,
like I feel like I would not be able to buy the games I have now today.
Absolutely not.
I got lucky in buying them when I did, because you look at the market like Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, it's $250 fucking for that game. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how did this game get? And it's like, it's because it's suddenly sought after, you know? And it's just crazy that like, once again, things that you liked before are like suddenly popular, you know? The retro stuff, like like some stuff like that being more popular, and you wouldn't expect it. Yeah, just to put a cap on that, it just is crazy to me.
Well, to uncap that, like the precursor to retro collecting was me as a child being a fucking idiot. I'm like, oh, I'm not playing this game anymore, or I'm not playing with these toys anymore. I'll get rid of them. It's like, why did you fucking do that? Like,
yeah, see, I did the same thing. I sold my video games in a garage sale when I was a kid. Because I was like, I'm not going to play these games again. Here, you want Tony Hawk's Underground for $5 at a garage sale?
Yeah, bro.
I regret doing that. I mean, I own it now, but I shouldn't have done that.
No, same for a lot of my games too. Like, there might be things I'm missing, but not anything major that I'm recalling. But like, dude, even something as like, this is like the little kid of me showing, but some of my old like Beyblades, dude. Like, I used to have first generation Beyblades, and I am so mad. Dude, the first generation stadiums were so fucking legit.
Yeah,
like they were godlike, bro. I would love to get my hands on some of those. I'd love to get my hands on some first generation Beyblades, some Beyblade Metal Fusion Beyblades. Like that generation was sick. I had a ton of those.
I was really looking into, as far as the next thing I want to collect, is I was really thinking about Lego, because I used to play with Legos a lot when I was a kid. And I know it's crazy, dude. That's another example of like, I feel like capitalism in America as a whole is capitalizing on nostalgia for our generation. I really believe that. Think about it, dude. They're remaking everything from our childhood. They're selling Lego sets specifically for an adult to capitalize on your nostalgia. They are pumping out 1 million Star Wars shows. They're fucking doing new Dragon Ball shit. They're doing everything, a new Lord of the Rings trilogy, all to capitalize on, hey, remember how you felt with all of this shit in 2000 whatever?
Well, like, part of that is like, yes,
weaponizing nostalgia, dude. That's what it feels like.
Yes, but also like the quality of the things that we had back then was much higher
than what we have now.
And there's people that recognize like, oh, okay, maybe we should continue this thing, because like Dragon Ball Z, for existence, there's a reason it was a massive part of my childhood, and I was obsessed with, I want to be a Super Saiyan or whatever.
Sure.
Come here.
And Dragon Ball is fucking sick. Like,
lay down.
And you're not even wrong about saying like the things were better back then. I just recently watched all of Dragon Ball Z like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now. I started it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, holy shit. I watched Dragon Ball Z almost 2 years ago now. Still super fresh in my mind. And I really do feel like that story holds up today. I thought it was fucking fantastic. I love Dragon Ball Z. It's my favorite anime. After watching that and then watching what comes out today with Dragon Ball, like there's moments that are good, but it's not as good as Z at all. And that's how I feel about Star Wars too. It's like, it was like the prequels and the originals are so good. Like I just recently watched those again too, the fucking original 6 Star Wars movies, and found even more about those films where I'm like, dude, there's so much here that you can just pick apart and talk about. But it was so good then.
Most definitely.
Like that's not the rose tinted lenses. Like I really do feel like I'm taking my bias out on both especially Star Wars, but even Dragon Ball Z. I didn't really watch it as a kid, and I watched it as an adult, and I'm like, this is fucking great. And I took my bias off with Star Wars as an adult, rewatching it now, and I was like, dude, no, these are great. Like, these are great films. Like, but they're just weaponizing what was good about that to sell you more on what they're trying to do today. But it's like, it's not as good as it was then. And it's not because of your childhood. It's because it was better written, better made. Like, there was heart put into it back then. And now it's turned into a product, you know?
Well, even to like superhero media, where like, dude, like there's good superhero media that exists today for sure. And especially like within the last handful of years prior, like Endgame and everything before Endgame was great. But like, dude, a shit ton of the animated stuff I watched as a kid, whether that be Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League, Batman Beyond, freaking Spectacular Spider-Man, Spider-Man 90s, X-Men Animated Series, X-Men Evolution, like so much of that stuff was like quality writing that I'm just like, dude, like I've said this like a billion times, but like, man, I watched this as a kid.
Yeah.
Like the quality and like the shit that was, man, like, oh dude, some of the writing, like, yes, this is enjoyable as a child, but like this is just as enjoyable to me and just as deep to me as a full grown adult. We haven't talked about games much.
No, we have not talked about games at all this podcast, bro.
And
Damn.
there's a couple things around the corner that I definitely have my eye on. One, Doom the Dark Ages, most definitely. One, let me start with, what have you been playing? Because I know you've been playing quite a bit.
Dude, holy fuck. So I mentioned in I was in between jobs. I'm about to start my new job. So I've had a lot of downtime. And every time this happens in my life where I'm in between something like that, and I have the time to work on the things I want to, or to knock out my back catalog, this is the time where I grind video games, dude. I don't even like, I've been so consumed by fucking video games, dude. It's been fucking ridiculous, bro. Like, I feel like this is the most video games I've ever played in my life. I fucking got all the way through Fallout 4 and its DLC.
Yeah, that was a massive game.
It took me like 150 something fucking hours to get through that.
Well, that's not completely true, because that was including the time you spent on the game prior.
Okay, so I already had put 50 hours into the game because I was really into Fallout, obviously because of the show. I really liked the show a lot. And I was like, dude, this makes me remember how much I love this franchise. I was like, I'm going to go play Fallout 4. And so I put 50 hours, but then I put an extra 100 hours in like the span of a month, if then maybe less than that.
Fucking wild.
Crazy. I played that, dude. I played Silent Hill 2. I really liked that. I got through the Evil Within 1 just recently. I'm starting the Evil Within 2. I replayed Resident Evil 2 remake. I'm replaying Resident Evil 4 remake. What the fuck else have I played? I've played so many games, dude. It's ridiculous. I can't even keep track of all of them.
So dipping back a little bit to Fallout 4, like that's such a massive game.
Yeah.
Like, and like on the point of massive games, like it takes a lot to gear up to something like that, especially for me, where like,
yeah,
I like to know what I'm committing to. So like I like to know, it's like, oh, okay, this game is roughly going to be 20, 30, 40 hours, 100 hours.
Yeah.
After you're done with something like that, one, it just shows that the product is good enough to go all the way through with to that 100-hour mark.
Yeah.
And you told me, and you had this similar feeling with Ghost of Tsushima, when you finish something like that, you almost don't know what to do with yourself.
Dude, for real. Like I was so invested. Like I was legit role playing that game. Like I was like so immersed into that game. Like, and people shit on that game. I don't fucking get why. Like I kind of do, but then I'm like, this is still a great game, dude. I would give that game like a high 8 to a low 9. The only thing that would really stop it from being a 9 is I did have maybe 1 or 2 crashes on that game playing it in my 150-hour run. And there was some bugs. There's some Bethesda jank. Other than that, I actually really enjoyed the main story, at least the choices I made. I liked the DLC for the most part. There was some stuff on the second DLC that I was like, like it doesn't really favor how I'm playing the game, but it doesn't make it bad. I actually thought the map was really cool. I
Yeah,
thought
you
some
were
of the
saying
characters
that
were
like
cool.
it doesn't really like it wants you to be like chaotic evil.
Yeah, like it's because people complain so much about the base game not really giving you the option to be that, which I didn't play the game that way, so I got what I wanted out of the game. So for me, it was a great experience. Like I had a great time playing Fallout 4. The shooting is fucking great. I love the build. I didn't mind the voice acting. Like I thought it was cool. Like I know people are like, it takes me out of the game a little bit. I'm like, I'm still choosing what I'm saying though. And I know the choice dialogue isn't as deep as like New Vegas, for
Sure.
example. Dude, I still had I put 150 something fucking hours in the game. Clearly, I still had a great time with the game, you know? Like the exploration's fucking awesome. Like learning backstories on what happened at the vaults is fucking awesome. Like, dude, I love that game. Like I was sucked into that game, like to the point where I'd blink and I'd be like, it's been 12 hours. It didn't even feel like it. Like I was so lost in the game. Like,
So the only time for me that
fuck.
I will ever really be mad, because like on a first playthrough where like it's Infamous style, you can choose to be evil, you can choose to be good, like
Yeah.
choose your path essentially. Um, most of the times on a first playthrough, I'm like neutral good, I would say, as a player and as probably a person. But like the only times I'm really informed of like, okay, like I'm gonna be a fucking dickhead is usually a second playthrough. So that's the only time that really matters to me, of like, if I elect to play a game more than once, where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be a dick this run. But most of the time for the first playthrough, it's gonna be neutral, neutral good.
Yeah, like I know some people look at it like from the perspective of like you're playing a video game. I feel like I get more enjoyment out of RPGs when I literally put myself in the character's shoes.
Exactly.
Like
Well, I mean,
that's
you're
kind of the fucking
role
point.
play, yeah.
Right. But people I know are like, I just went around and just killed everything and was like evil. I'm like, I bet there's like maybe an hour or two of like fun doing that. But I was like, I have more fun where I'm like, a character comes up and talks to me and I'm like presented with a situation. How would I actually react to that situation? That's how I play the game. I'm like, if someone comes up to me and there's choices that I can make in the dialogue, what would I actually say? If that means that like my character is a douchebag for saying that, I guess my character is a douchebag. I'm not going into it thinking I'm going to be good, but like depends on the circumstance. What is the dilemma that my character in the game is presented with? I just put myself in the shoes on like, how would I react to that situation? And I get the most enjoyment out of the game doing that because it sucks me into it. I am in the game. Like,
Well, because most definitely, because like you have like, especially with the responses for one, it's like, okay, I'm gonna respond to how I would, and then that what you say directly informs what you get. So it's like someone's really talking to you, someone's really interacting, and if they get mad to what you said, you're more attached to because you actually feel it in that moment.
yeah. And sometimes like the situations you're presented with in that game are like just really fun. Like I came across a fucking giant pirate ship that was crashing into the top of a fucking building. I was like, what the fuck is this? I go in there. Everybody on the pirate ship is a fucking robot and they're like programmed with like old pirate like personalities. Like, welcome aboard me crew. And it's like literally like a fucking robot with a pirate hat. And they're like, would you like to be my lieutenant? And you're like, dude, yes, I want to be on this boat with robot pirates, dude. Like, and then there's people down at like, I know the right choice would be to help the scavengers because like they're being attacked and like the ship has cannons and they're like holding off the people. This is somewhat of a spoiler for my choices on this quest, but I'm telling you, it's worth playing. And they're like, hey, come here, the scavengers. And they're like, so they let you on board that ship? And I was like, yeah, they like needed my help, like repairing some parts of it or whatever. And they're like, you should like betray them because we could use those parts to like help out our people in the villages. And I know that was the right decision. And like even Piper, who was like my companion and my fucking lover in the game, she was like, we should probably help these people. And I was like literally looking at her, I was like, but they're robot pirates. Like,
It's like you just turn her, like she's talking to you, like she's facing your back. It's like, we really could help them. You turn around with a fucking like a cutlass and an eye patch on. It's like, yes,
literally, that's kind of what happened. I was just like, but they're robot pirates. And then I had to Google it. I was like, is Piper going to be pissed at me if I fucking help the robot pirates? And they're like, depends on like where your standing is with her. If she's like your lover, it's going to be hard for her to like break apart from you, like from a small decision like that. I was like, cool. So I was like, in a way, the pirate's like, will you help us keep away the fucking, the scurvies or whatever? I was like, yes. I was like, I will help them. And then they were like, great, thanks for helping get our ship like prepared or whatever. Because they're like, we're trying to get away, right? They're like, we need to take this vessel out into the open sea, but we need your help because there's like rockets on it to like help it fly or whatever. So I like repaired it and they're like, thank you so much. Here's a captain, like a fucking lieutenant hat. And I put the lieutenant hat on and they're like, go push the button so we can fly. I was like, let's go. I fucking ran off the ship and it was in a building like right next to it. And I pushed the button. I just watched it and it was fucking flying in the air. And they're like, we did it, lads. Finally, seabound. And all of a sudden it's just flying and flying. I was like, no fucking shot. I was like, no, they're not going to make it to the ocean. There's another building way off in the distance. You see it flying and it crashes into that and lands. And they're like, success. Only 2,000 years till we can leave again. I was like, what the fuck? It was so funny because they're trying to get to the ocean. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? They didn't even...
Okay, I'm now. What would be crazy,
dude, it was awesome.
If you entered into New Game Plus, got to the DLC portion, the ship was in where you left it.
Yeah.
Like it's like you found it crashed into the building that you last saw it in, and then you could keep doing that quest over and over till they actually get to the sea.
That would
be nuts.
So when they crashed in that building, the first thing I did, it was far away, but I was like, I'm going there. And I went all the way there. I took the elevator up and got on the ship, and I was just like, can I help them again? And I talked to the pirate, and he's like, thank you for everything you've done. We'll take it from here. I was like, wait, what do you mean? I was like, you're not to the ocean. He's like, no. We got to refuel. It'll take us about 2,000 years. Thank you, everything, Lieutenant. We got it from here. If you'd like to stay, there's a room on board this ship. So he gave me a place to stay. And I'm like, okay. I was like, thought we were trying to fucking go to the ocean. I was like, God damn it. Like they were stuck in that one building for like 2,000 years until I came along. And now they're like, just another 2,000. I was like, fuck. Like,
dude, yeah, it would be so sick.
But it was like little shit like that, dude, that just like the main story is good. I'm not going to spoil anything like that for people out there that haven't played it, but the choices I made in the main story, I actually liked it. I felt like I was left with a dilemma. I actually felt like the Far Harbor DLC to Fallout 4 was such a stronger story. And the reason why is it's the only time I've played a Fallout game or even an RPG like that where by the end of the story, I was left with such a dilemma that I paused the game and I literally was like, I don't know what choice to make here. Which I've never felt that way about an RPG. Usually I'm like, I'll just, fuck them. We're going with them. Or, all right, well, like there's factions and you can make a choice here. The way they stacked this situation where it's like, if I help these people, I'm fucking over these ones and I actually kind of like them. But if I help him, I'm helping him to cover up something fucking terrible that he did. And I don't want to help that because it's like, I don't agree with the decision he made. But I also want to, like, I don't want to have to like fucking fuck them up either because I feel like they were actually kind of doing a good thing. And you're left in this dilemma to where I literally was just sitting there. I was like, there is really no like right decision here. Like, you're left in such a situation in that DLC where I literally spent 20 minutes just sitting there looking at the pause screen. Like, I was like, dude, I don't know what to fucking choose here.
I think that probably would be the one time where like being chaotic evil would be like a benefit because you have no alliances.
No matter what, like the choice I ended up making in that was, I was just like, I don't want to spoil exactly what happens in that DLC. You guys should play. If you're playing Fallout 4 and you've thought about maybe playing the DLC, Nuka World is the second one. It's cool if you're trying to be chaotically evil. Like that one's really cool. It feels almost like a Borderlands kind of DLC. It's cool. But as far as like just any sort of playthrough, like I could really enjoy a DLC. Far Harbor, dude, I highly recommend you at least play that one. That one is really fucking good. Like I think it's space storyline in that is stronger than the actual base game storyline. And I liked the base game storyline, but dude, like the dilemma that you're left with in that DLC, I did not expect that. I did not expect like I was literally thinking out in my head, rationalizing every decision, like the circumstances or the repercussions of my choices. I'm like, okay, if I make this choice, then this happens and this happens. And I'm like, fuck, that's fucked. And then I'm like, okay, what if I make this choice? And then it's like, okay, but then this happens and then I fuck this over and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do that either. And then you go like, you have like 3 choices roughly that you can make. And I was like roughly, there's like smaller choices within that branching path that you can make. Like, it's so convoluted in a good way to where you're like, I don't know what the fuck to choose. And even the choice that I did make by the end of it, I was like, I felt somewhat guilty by the choice. I was like, fuck, dude. Like, it's so good, dude. That's why it was so good. Cause I know people were telling me they're like, this DLC is hella good. And I was like, okay. And as I was playing it, I was like, there's a bit of a mystery going on here. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I want to know. Like, it gave me more of like The Thing or The Mist kind of vibe, which I love both those movies or stories. And I was like, okay. But yeah, dude, by the end of that, I was like, I do not know what to fucking choose here. This is a crazy fucking, I was telling everybody about it, dude. I was like, dude, have you played this DLC? And they're like, no. And I was like, you fucking should. I was like, it is crazy. But dude, like the base game of that is hella good too. Like I really liked the base game storyline and the choices that I made there. But like the side quests in the base game were borderline better than like the base storyline, like the main story of the game. Like, and that's the aspect of that game that you can get so lost in. Like the fact that I'm talking this extensively about Fallout, even though I've beaten so many other games, should tell you how much I really enjoyed that game. Like that game is stuck with me in a really good way. Like I fucking loved it.
I mean,
dude.
naturally, like when you spend, like I haven't spent time on a game that big in some time. Like I think one I'm definitely looking forward to getting to. That's like a massive game is Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm gonna be playing that this year.
Fucking game is so good.
On top of Silent Hill 2, on top of
dude.
Mario Odyssey, on top of I can never remember the name of this fucking game, man. It's coming out with a second one this year. World horror? I don't know what it is.
Second one?
Yeah. I can never, the dude from The Walking Dead.
Oh, Death Stranding.
Yes, I can
Death
never
Stranding
remember that
too.
game. The name of that game.
Dude, oh, that reminds me. I got around to beating Metal Gear Solid 4 as well.
Fuck yeah.
Which, that game was pretty solid. I don't think it was as good as the other 3. Yeah, I don't think it was as good as the other 3 Metal Gear Solid games I played. Just because they're trying to wrap up a pretty big storyline with that game. Like, there were some cool moments, and there were some parts where I started to choke up a little bit. I was like, damn, this is really well done. But like by the very end of it, I was like, dude, this is so fucking complex and complicated that like I had to like look up like an ending explained video or something with Metal Gear Solid 4 because I was like, dude, there was so much the game throws at you story wise. Really cool though. I liked it a lot. The boss fights were fucking way cool in Metal Gear Solid 4. But yeah, I finally got around to playing that. But like after I beat Fallout 4, I was like, dude, I want to play Fallout New Vegas because like that's the one everyone says like has so many different options that you like no one playthrough is going to be exactly the same as anyone else's. Yeah. And the game just keeps fucking crashing on me on my PC. So I have to literally mod the game to make it feel more like there's a mod pack called Viva New Vegas. And it basically modernizes the gameplay to where it feels more like 4, which is a good thing in my opinion, because the gameplay on that does not hold up. I don't give a fuck what any of you Fallout fans out there say. The choices out there, sure, like it's better. But the actual gameplay itself, it is not aged well. It's old. It's old, and I know it's like, well, yeah, there's other old games. There's other old games around that time that hold up better than that game. I'm just saying that the gameplay of it does not hold up the best. But I did like the quests and what I was doing. It's just the game kept crashing on me over and over again. So I just had to like abandon it until I get those mods installed. But I know nothing about modding, so it's just going to have to wait. But
yeah, not being able to sprint in a game that massive.
Dude, not being able to sprint, it crashing on you every fucking 10 seconds. The shooting doesn't feel the greatest. Like,
see, that's how I felt about DualShock.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, dude, like something about like this is like missing a certain punchiness, like a certain impact. Like I was just like, dude, I get that the world and like the lore behind the game is like very cool, and I'm familiar with it, but I'm just like, this does not feel good to play.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But so I had to abandon that at least until I can get that mod pack. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to give Starfield another chance. I was like, really? I'm going to actually sit down and give that game a shot just because I was like, dude, like, I feel like Bethesda really cooked with Fallout 4 and so many people shit on that game. And I think they're all wrong. So I was like, if people are wrong about Fallout 4, are they wrong about Starfield? I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a shot. So I started over, finally got the game to be somewhat optimized, because my issue with that game before is I couldn't optimize the fuck out of that game at all on my PC. I'm like, how is it possible? Like, how am I not able to run this at a stable 60? I got it to be able to sit around 50 to 60 frames. Not stabilizing at 60, but still, it was like optimizing and looked decent. But I was like, dude, that was already something that was kind of like rubbing me in a bad way. Like, I was just like, I don't like the fact that they almost forced you to play this in 30. Didn't like that, even on PC. So I was like, all right, whatever. But I'll get over it. I was like, it's not that big of a deal.
I feel like PC 30 versus console 30 is like way different, because like when you have a limit to, like, let's just say looking around with like sensitivity, like controller sensitivity versus mouse sensitivity. Like, you have a lock on how fast you can go at any given time on a controller because it only goes this far on the thumbstick. With a mouse, you're so much more whippy with your movements, where like I feel like you feel the 30 more on a PC.
Yeah. But with that being said, like the frame rate, all that, I was like, all right, whatever, I can get used to this. Like,
sure,
you know, it's whatever. Like, frame rate isn't that big of a deal. Like, I feel like in modern gaming today, like, it's not crazy to be like, I'm expecting a performance mode of this game. But if there's not, it's like, it's not the end of the world. So I'm giving this game a chance. And I've like basically set up my character to be like a Freestar type person. Like, I have this backstory with him and stuff. I'm really role playing in this game, right? Shooting doesn't feel bad. I think the shooting actually feels pretty good. I like the guns and stuff. Even some of the quests are kind of cool. I like the idea of the main story quest where it's like, it's this group called Constellation, and they're trying to figure out this piece that you found because you were like a miner and you were in a mine, like just getting all this shit, and you find this piece. And when you touched it, it showed you this crazy ass elaborate thing in the universe. And then Constellation member shows up, which I thought was kind of weird, because he shows up and he's like, all right, you saw this piece too? You should come with us and join Constellation. We're on the search of like what these pieces mean and like what the universe is trying to tell us. Take my ship. Literally shows up in his ship to the planet that you're mining on and just goes, take it. And doesn't want to go at least with you.
Yeah.
He shows up and just gives you the ship. He's just like, take it, and take my companion too.
Take my girlfriend.
Literally. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and I'm like, he's like, take the ship and just go meet Constellation on this planet. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. You don't even know me and you're just giving me your fucking starship. Like, I know that's the way of the game's got to be able to give you your starting ship and stuff, but I just thought that was weird. So then I go there and I'm doing these like quests, and I'm like, okay, I think the like main story quest is kind of cool, but the biggest issue with that game, dude, and it's like, it was to the point where it was just like, it bogged me down to where like it feels like a chore going back to the game, even though I really want to like give it a fair chance. The game is plagued with loading screens. Plagued with it, dude. Like, I mean, dude, like, especially when you play a game like No Man's Sky, where it's like you can just fly anywhere and go in and out of a planet seamlessly, to go to a game like Starfield where it's like there's a loading screen to get onto the ship. You have to load to get in your ship. Then you have to load to get from the planet into space. That's its own loading screen. Then you're in space, right? Outside of the planet. So you can look around, look back at the planet, boom. But to go to the next objective, you have to load to jump to that next planet or next galaxy or whatever, or not galaxy, but the next star system, whatever. Then you're in that star system. Then you got to go to another loading screen to go to the planet in that star system. So, okay, I'm going to this planet. Then you're facing the planet and you're in space just outside of its atmosphere. Now you need a loading screen to go into the planet. You load into the planet. Then once you land in the planet, now you need a loading screen to get out of your ship to where you can walk on that planet.
Talk about a total break of immersion. Holy shit.
And sometimes you'll be like, hey, I'm glad that you're doing all these quests for me on this planet. Like, because you can just run around and like there's loading screens to go inside of buildings too. It was like that in Fallout, but so it's not that big of a deal. But there's way more loading screens in this game. But sometimes a quest will be like, hey, I need you to go all the way to this star system, get this object, and then come back. To do something as simple as that, I am not shitting you. It's like 6 or 7 separate loading screens to just get the thing, and then you have to do those 6 or 7 loading screens to get back.
That's brutal.
For one quest. And
Dude.
I'm like, talk about padding. Like, what the fuck?
Well,
like,
the thing is, too, is like Bethesda never had a lot of my blind faith to begin with. So I really didn't care about Starfield when I heard it. Like, I mean, you're my roommate. You talked to me when that game was coming out. You're like, oh man, I'm kind of looking forward to the Starfield game. I'm like, all right, on. Like, I just didn't really care. But
Yeah, but I'm also really into sci-fi. That kind of shit is
Sure.
right up my alley too. So it's like that game should have been a fucking home run for me. And I, like I said, I really tried, but
Come here, puppy.
dude, that game was fucking tough for me to like really get into. And it's like you said, it's because it's immersion breaking when I'm like constantly sitting here looking at a fucking loading screen going like, dude, I just want to play the game. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we could excuse it back on like the PS1 generation or whatever, because that's just how things were at the time. But like we've strayed so much away from pretty much since the 360 generation. Like we've tried to like cut out as much loading screens as possible, whether that be like, visual tricks of like, oh, like we only load things in the game that are in your direct line of sight that are a cone. That way we could save on processing power and cut down on loading screens. But for a game to come back that hard in this generation, it's like, hey, sorry, asshole, you're going to go through like a bajillion loading screens in this game. Like, that's just. And then the performance on top of that, like you have loading screens, so like therefore your game should be optimized more because you're loading these chunks of this game.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't think the quests are nearly as bad as people were saying. Like, I think sometimes people like to bitch and complain because it gets them clicks, or sometimes it's because it's popular to say that. So that's why I don't really take people's opinions too seriously. I want to form it myself. But with that being said, yeah, those are my personal reasons why I'm having a really hard time getting into the game. It's rough. With that being said, I then decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to like start a playthrough of Skyrim. Even though fantasy really isn't up my alley, I was like, I remember playing Skyrim and liking it way back in the day. I was like, but last time I played it, like actually sat and played it, was the PS3 generation. I was like, that was like 15 years ago. Like, I was like, I'm going to actually sit and play Skyrim. I've been really enjoying Skyrim. I think Skyrim's fucking awesome. Like, and like once again, I'm not really a fucking fantasy guy, but the idea that you're this fucking dragonborn that takes dragon abilities and turns them into shouts, and then you have to go learn from ancient monks sitting on top of a mountain called the Greybeards, and they teach you the way of being the dragonborn. Fucking badass, dude. Are you kidding me? Like, I forgot all about that. I was like, dude, this game is fucking awesome, dude. Like this whole Dragonborn story, and like that's why the dragons disappeared is because man learned how to fucking use their shouts against them. I was like, dude, this is fucking sick.
I
like,
don't know what this meme originated from, but like, do you remember the chick on like man, I can't remember the show, but like People React or whatever,
yeah,
where it's just like, this is why I don't like this game, is because like it applies to the male
it appeals
fantasy.
to the male fantasy.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't even know what game that was like about allegedly, but like, dude, I'm just like, no, this is like the male fantasy, bro. Like, you want to be the fucking main character, you want to learn this cool ass shit, and it's for me personally, like it's been a long while. It's been at least like 5 years since the last time I cracked into Skyrim, give or take.
Yeah, dude, but even with that being said, that's the beauty of those types of games is like it appeals to what I want because I'm choosing to go down the path of that in the game.
Most definitely.
Like of course it's appealing to the male fantasy of like I'm a badass fucking like I could slay a dragon with my bare hands. Yeah, that's how I want to play the game. But I had an ex-girlfriend obsessed with fucking Skyrim, and she played the game completely different than how I play. She was like a wizard spellcaster and was like, I'm joining the vampire people, and like, this is my vampire boyfriend. I'm like, of course that's going to appeal to like a more female audience. But the fact that that's in the game for someone like her, that's the brilliant thing about a game like Skyrim is like, she has the option to completely interpret this game way different than how I'm interpreting. I'm like, I'm a badass fucking like Viking type person that's slaying dragons. She's over here mixing potions and fucking throwing them at people and getting vampire boyfriends. I'm like,
your boy
completely different.
I was a lizard wizard.
Really?
Yeah.
Like I've got like one of the fucking Jarls gave me a Thane, Lydia. I'm like, you are now my wife. You follow me everywhere and you're my pack mule and we will have children. So she's following me everywhere. And I'm like, dude, this is how I'm playing. Like the fact that like the game's allowing me to role play the game how I want, but also it's like, for example, like for her, like my ex-girlfriend, if she wanted to play it her way, the game is open enough to allow her to interpret the game that way, which is why I think Skyrim is so beloved and has been sold over and over again. It's like, there's so much different options you can take into that game. And like I said, I'm not even a fantasy guy, and I can recognize like how great the game is. Like visually, it still looks pretty fucking great too. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
Not that Skyrim did anything particularly wrong with this, but like taking a game like a Skyrim versus like something like an Arkham, which I've talked to you about like the design philosophy of Arkham before, where like the idea is like, oh, hey, we have these really strong elements. Let's take out the weaknesses of the game and just focus on the strengths of the game, as opposed to games attempting to give like every player an option of like every player has a means of like playing however they want to, and like you get a lot of like if you're focusing so much on everything, you get a lot of 7 out of 10 fair, as opposed to like a game having like 10 out of 10 like combat, or like, you know, like this game's stealth is like an 11 out of 10 or whatever. Like you have these peaks versus like, okay, in other games that are focusing on giving every player everything, yeah, you get like a lot of 6 or 7 out of 10. But like, not that Skyrim's guilty of that, but that's just like a trend that gaming has gone. They focus so much on giving people everything that everything ends up being a little lukewarm.
yeah. Yeah. Now, I've talked extensively about my gaming because I've been gaming a lot. What have you been playing, dude?
I have been playing with my emotion. No. I just wrapped up not all that long ago Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, dude.
Which was lovely. I wasn't like head over heels for the game. It wasn't like the best game I've ever played or anything like that. But I'm just like, yeah, this is solid. I had a good time playing it. And especially in the second half of the game, I feel like it became dramatically stronger. And it like suits so much of what I like in games. Like it was mechanically very tight. There was a little bit of clunkiness in the traversal, but it was good. It was decent.
Yeah.
After that was Ghost Runner 2.
Okay.
Ghost Runner 2 was really good. I've never beaten a game so fast. Not out of like, oh dude, I love this game. This is the best game ever. But it was like this was back when Brandon came over last. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be there at like 4 a.m. I'm just like, fuck, I gotta be awake till 4 a.m. It's like, all right, what else am I gonna do? I'm gonna fucking. So I beat Ghost Runner 2 so fast. It was solid. The first game was really good. I enjoyed it. I like that the second game, like the first game you're in like this cyberpunk city the whole time, whereas like the second game's like, oh, hey, let me show you what's outside.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, we get a little bit more. There's like a bike thing. I'm just like, those games promote like mechanical proficiency, which I really appreciate. So that game was solid. And then much akin to that, I just recently beat Doom Eternal, which kind of follows that same thing where it's like, oh, this game like promotes you being like good at the game. Like I did do something I don't usually do, which was turn down the difficulty, not for the game being like so hard or anything. Like I could have beat it on the difficulty that I was on, but I'm just like, one, I kind of want to feel a little bit more powerful, and I'm just kind of
enjoy the game for what it is right now.
Oh yeah, I'm like, if I want to do a challenge run, I could probably beat it on the hardest difficulty, no problem. But it wasn't about that per se.
Yeah.
But the game was really good. I enjoyed it. There is things that 2016 does that is a little bit stronger.
Okay.
Like, I think Doom Eternal is mechanically the superior game, without a doubt. But I think the thing I appreciate about 2016 is, and I've said this a billion times, is the drip feed that it gives you, whether that be weaponry or enemy variety. Like, when it introduces an enemy to you in 2016, it feels significant.
Yeah.
And then the way Eternal might give you like the way in which it feeds you weapons might be a little bit better, but like it could be either or, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really just play those games for the mechanical purpose. I couldn't tell you shit about the lore. I'm just like, oh yeah, let me just fucking like, yeah, I just wanted to feel powerful, and it was just fun killing stuff.
Dude, I think you would really like the original Doom games that id Software
Oh,
made in the
probably.
90s. Like,
Yeah, I
if you
have 'em.
like the feeling of like, I'm a badass, I can run around here and just fuck shit up. The original games feel like that. They're just on older hardware.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and they're just an older game. Same with Quake. Quake is the same thing. It feels exactly, Quake actually feels more like what Doom would become than
The
like
old
the original
Dooms.
Dooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Quake is like the evolution of Doom.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like I loved Quake. The first one in particular. Quake 2 was good. I think the atmosphere of Quake 1 was better because the first Quake game was like really eerie at times. Like they had Nine Inch Nails. Trent Reznor did the entire soundtrack for that game. I'm already a Nine Inch Nails fan, but take my bias of that band out of it. I actually think what he did with the soundtrack in that game is he really gave the game an atmosphere of eeriness, which really made even in empty rooms in that game, you just get this unsettling feeling like you're being watched or something, which just made the game feel different than other games that id Software did, even the sequel of Quake 2. Quake 2 felt more like what Doom would become, where it's like badass guitars playing and you're just a monster. Quake 1 felt more like almost like Doom 3.
So like on the design of like the Doom games, like like this is generations of consoles apart from one another, but the designs of 2016's enemies and Eternal's enemies feel, even though it's graphically so superior, like it feels like in world of like, yeah, dude, these are like the same designs that I was killing back then. So like the returning player, I'm just like, dude, like this is probably the ultimate form of what they wanted you to feel like back then, and like it's just cranked up with the movement and like the weapon variety and how the weapons perform and these attachments that you put on them, but like down to the things that you kill and how you kill them. Like, dude, I could still see like someone playing those games back then feeling nostalgic. um but I was really bad about playing that game. I got sick. um which is something about me getting sick in the way that I did, like really fucked with my like dopamine receptors or something, bro. Like it felt weird. Yeah. Where like I couldn't, like it felt like I had crazy I felt like I had crazy ADHD where like I could not sit down and play a game. The only games I could play, of course, were fighting games because rounds go by so quick. It's not that big a
And it's
thing.
damn near muscle memory for you at some points too, right? Like it's just easier for you to lock in on something you have like a habit of playing.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, I don't know. Like I really couldn't sit down and play like any other type of game. Like, and yeah, I was in rough condition. Like I was really just either playing fighting games or doom scrolling. But yeah, after I was done being sick, I'm like, I need to lock in on Doom. I need to finish this. And then after Doom, next up on my plate is gonna be Silent Hill 2, which I'm really looking forward to. There's a couple Nintendo games, but there's not a ton coming out that I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, Dark Ages. Obviously, like I said, the League of Legends fighting game. It's gonna be whenever that happens.
Yeah.
Death Stranding 2. I need to play one, but yeah, much like last year, like it's gonna be like big backlog killing. Like I do want to get one of the games that was announced or not announced. The Game Awards.
Astrobot?
No.
Black Myth Wukong?
What is it called? It nominated. One of the games that was nominated
Yeah.
was Metaphor Refantasio.
Yeah.
Which is one I want to pick up. I'm not picking up Balatro. I don't give a shit about that.
No.
Um,
So with sticking still with Doom, after playing 2016 and Eternal, and with the Dark Ages, I think right around the corner. I think it comes out this May.
yeah.
What are your expectations, and how are you feeling about the developer and what they've crafted so far? What are you thinking about that game? How are you feeling about that? What are you expecting? What do you think they could fuck up? Do you think it's possible they fuck up? Do you have faith it'll be good? What do you think?
I'm feeling kind of weird. on it right now.
Okay.
Because I am excited for it. I'm not gonna get it on release. I'm gonna wait till it goes on sale. Like I'm not in a hurry to play that game. I have other games I'm gonna crack into for the interim. But it seems as if they're really going for like a slow down pace, which one of the things I enjoy about the new Doom games is like how crazy things can get and how like much of a clutch situation like you can be in where you're navigating all around the map. You got your jet boots on and whatever. So the fact that we're reeling back from that, interesting. But also there's going to be like a flight mechanic in it now where you're going to be like might be going through like air levels. Maybe you're flying on the back of something and then you're fighting enemies while you're in the air. Maybe something like that. That might be reminiscent of like old bullet hell games, maybe. But then there's also like you're gonna be piloting a mech in that game, which I don't know. Like it might be fun having like mech fights or whatever. I'm not sure.
Plus, you get a shield now.
Yeah, I think the shield is cool, and like I don't know if you've seen the melee weapons. Like you have the Morning Star, and then you have
that gun that crushes up skull shards and shoots skulls.
Yeah, and then
that's cool.
You have a couple melee options. I'm struggling to remember the other ones other than the Morning Star, but yeah, it seems as if like you have like more primitive material that you're working with. So I'm wondering how that's gonna feel. Like, are we just gonna be really just grounded, like not double jumping and like boosting around the map, or like will they surprise us in a way that we're not expecting? I'm curious. What about yourself?
I have good faith that it'll be solid. I don't know if it'll be as good as Eternal, in my opinion. I like Eternal the most out of 2016 and Eternal, but they're really close. Like they're like this for me. Like I honestly, I could probably interchange them out for which one's my favorite.
Ooh, on that though, the one thing 2016 really fell short on for me was the final boss battle. That shit was like it didn't feel as if the game was coming to a climax with that stupid fucking brain crab boss fight.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to this fucking giant threat on Earth, this super mega crazy crackhead demon, where it's like you have to destroy like the armor plating on it and fucking and kill it and like turn it to like to save Earth or whatever. I'm just like, okay, this is more of like a finality.
Yeah.
Than this stupid brain crab thing. But
yeah, I agree actually. But I think it'll be good. I'm very curious on like the choices they're making because they're getting rid of the glory kill system in this new one, which it's still there. It's just that like, you know how like a glory kill would be set up on the enemy, and depending on the angle that you come at him with is depending on the animation of the kill. Like you smash his head into the ground, or you take his elbow and break it and shove it in his eye, like shit like that. It was way cool, but like. I guess they're getting rid of the animation of it. So it's just like, it'll pop up and it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's integrated in the gameplay. There is no animation that stops the gameplay. Like, you know how when you do a glory kill, you have to kind of sit there and watch the glory kill and then you get right back into the action of the game.
I kind of like that though.
Me too. That's why I'm kind of worried about what this new glory kill system is going to be. But I don't know. It could be really cool. Like they've made a lot of great games. So I can't really knock them for wanting to experiment and kind of make something that separates it from Eternal. I actually respect that a lot in a sequel. It's like, justify the number, justify the sequel. Why are we making a sequel to this if it's just exactly like the game that came before it? Which was what I was really worried about with Spider-Man 2 when that came out. Everything I saw of Spider-Man 2, I was like, this looks exactly like Spider-Man 1. Why are we making a sequel if, as a video game, there's no justifiable reason? Now, in hindsight, there was a lot of shit they added in Spider-Man 2 that separated it from Spider-Man 1. The whole slingshot web thing that you can shoot yourself across the fucking map. Traversal was way faster. You had the wingsuit, so you could fly around way easier with that.
And then the air tunnel
air tunnel, you could juggle around two characters now.
But like the thing I was worried about was like you're traversing the same space. And like to me,
they added queens too.
Yeah, that's true. But like to me, that's like very problematic. Where I'm just like, okay, like this is gonna be boring if we're just going around the same stomping grounds. But yeah, they did add queens. But also like the way I like to think about it is when you are, it's a problem when like you walk the same place over and over again in like a daily commute. Like, of course, then it's boring. But like being in a car, you don't think about your daily commute as much. Like it's not boring, it's just what you do. But being Spider-Man is being in a car times 10 because you're zipping every which way. You're not stopping into these little crevices of the world and like really getting the fullest of the exploration. It's just the buildings are just in between what you do to get to where you want to be. Like you're not really stopping in and exploring per se. So it's not really a problem, but it is also problematic to explore the same place at the same time.
Yeah, and so like that's the thing I worry about when sequels are being made. If it looks too much like the game that came before, it's like, why am I buying this game? But I mean, the Dark Ages looks different enough. Like it looks a lot really different than Eternal in 2016. So I have faith that whatever they're choosing to do with this game, that it'll be good. Will it be as good as Eternal? I don't fucking know, but yeah, I have faith that it'll be good.
There's a couple things that are like announced on the side too. I don't know when these are slated to come out, but one, the Blade game. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know when that's dated for. Maybe it already has a release or announcement date or a speculation date, but quietly curious. Don't know what the gameplay is going to look like, but quietly curious. It could be like a Ghost Runner. If it plays anything like a Ghost Runner, that might be cool, especially if it is first person.
Yeah.
And then, you know, along the Insomniac line of thinking, Wolverine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am apprehensive.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. They have to get it right.
Because I want it to be... I want it to be like bloody and gory and gruesome, but like reeling back, like on the exploration point, reeling back the exploration from like what would be maybe a 10 out of 10 in like a Spider-Man, because you're weaponing and zipping and interacting with all these things that you're going around.
Yeah.
How slow you might interact with the world. Can Insomniac nail that?
See, I don't know. Yeah, like how would you even approach a game like that? Because like, if it's, I almost feel like it wouldn't be a bad idea to make it like semi-open, semi-linear type game, because like I feel like the character of Wolverine would be kind of like, especially going from Spider-Man to Wolverine, it's like, is the traversal going to be fun?
Yeah.
Am I going to enjoy an open world where I have to get from point A to point B? I'm like, the dude can only run so fucking fast. Like, you know,
am I going to be GTA stealing a car?
Dude, for real. Just chink, get out of the car. It's a fucking...
Well, like you pitched something forever ago now of like a Ghost Rider game, and I could easily see
that would be
Ghost Rider
tight
on his bike. But
dude,
like,
I know,
not just like driving around the town. He's using his chain to zip onto the side of buildings,
dude, to drift around corners.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, not even drift around corners, but you're driving on the side of a building with your chain or whatever. Like that would be fucking sick.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like Ghost Rider is such an underutilized fucking character in general. Like, he's so fucking cool. And like, yeah, like, you know, Spider-Man will be like swinging, and depending on how you approach like the corner, he'll like whip himself around the corner. I'm like, imagine being Ghost Rider and you just ching with your fucking chain and like drift around. That'd be so sick, dude. Like, yeah, I feel like I would rather have, like, if they announced a Ghost Rider game, I'd be so hyped. You have no idea. Like, I'd be like, let's fucking go. Like, this is insane.
Curious as to see, like, okay, now on that, is there any superheroes, Marvel or DC, that you'd like to see a title outside of Ghost Rider where, like, you know, I bet they could do this probably pretty good.
For a video game?
Yeah.
Daredevil.
Okay, that's pretty free, I would say.
I feel like Daredevil would be fucking dope. Like, I like to see him even tied into Insomniac's Spider-Man universe would be fucking awesome, dude. They already referenced Matt Murdock in Spider-Man.
Yeah, you get a little half and half where they're like, okay, you're looking at the gameplay normally.
Yeah.
But you got like a detective vision like Arkham, because he's fucking Daredevil. He can like see around
Plus, he's got the bully clubs that can fucking whip out and you can swing with them.
Absolutely. And then, dude, there could be like a detective element where like you get choice dialogue with people, but you can hear whether they're lying or not. So like to inform the detective aspect. So like you're like like, oh, Mr. Murdoch, like, I'm being accused of murder. It's like, oh, I can hear that they're not lying or whatever. It's like, oh,
Right.
all right, how am I gonna approach talking to them?
Yeah, you could take like elements of LA Noir where it's like you
Exactly.
take pieces of information from witnesses that you talk to, and then when you stand trial in a courtroom, like in that scene, you get to choose what to say when defending or prosecuting a suspect or witness because you're like, oh, I remember this bit of information that I got from this guy who told me. And it's like, is it true that you talked to so and so about this a couple days ago? And you only get that like choice dialogue if you extracted that information just like in LA Noir. That would be goated, dude, because then it would make the courtroom scenes like way interesting because then you could potentially win like a side quest case or lose a side quest case depending on how you approached the case. That would be fucking killer, dude.
So you get the information, and then, like, let's say in an interrogation scene, or you're talking to your client or whatever, like, maybe you level up your detective abilities or like your hearing or whatever, and then like you can like tune everything out and focus on the person you're talking to, and then like you can hear their heart rate.
Yeah. But if you don't get the right information, you can't accuse them of what you know they're lying about. So if in that situation you know they're lying, all you can do is be like, I have reasonable doubt that you're not being truthful with what you're saying, but you don't have any evidence to support that. Right. So if you got information from earlier and they're lying right there and be like, that's bullshit. Just like in fucking LA Noir, you'd be like, that's bullshit. Here's why I know that's bullshit. Because you were there on the night Sally was stabbed. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you dropped her ice cream.
Exactly. The case closed. Like fucking, that would be killer, dude.
I'm pretty on board for that, actually. It could be Ghost Rider or Daredevil.
Dude, those are the two. And I feel like those are two of my favorite Marvel characters to begin with. So I'm like, I think they're fucking awesome. Like,
I'm trying to think of one for me, because like there's characters I have love for that I don't know if, because like I have a lot of love for Taskmaster, but would a Taskmaster game be all that cool? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Let me get the way my brain's going to first is Moon Knight.
Moon Knight would be cool. Yeah. Moon Knight would be fucking sick, actually. I'm with you on that.
I could get down with that. I would. I want some love for DC because DC's been lacking.
Mm-hmm.
My brain is kind of like, I would love for there to be a Superman game that's good. That'd be pretty tough. That'd be a tough order. Maybe if you put Superman in a game where there's like a Red Sun or something like that.
What if you had like the tag team element from Arkham Knight, but you did that co-op and you made a Teen Titans game where you had the Arkham combat and you can tag team enemies together and it's Teen Titans, dude.
What if we get DC Ultimate Alliance, which is kind of already a thing with the Justice League game, but I could be down for that because it's not like the Teen Titans are so powerful that it's just like, all right, this is going to be a fucking breeze. That's a pretty good pull.
And you could actually keep that in line with the Arkham universe because even though Kevin Conroy's not around, rest in peace to the legend, Dick Grayson's in that universe, and you can have it like be like more of a backstory of before he really became Nightwing.
Yeah,
and like maybe that story like leads with the Teen Titans game could lead to how he became the protector of Bloodhaven.
Yeah, and then you get
goated character, by the way,
like,
fucking Nightwing.
The main antagonist, probably Slade Wilson.
Would be badass. Yeah, that would be fucking sick. Okay. Which we've seen before in the Arkham games. Deathstroke, right?
Yeah.
So we've seen him in the Arkham games. You'd fucking bring him right over.
Okay, there's something here that could be fleshed out to probably be pretty good, actually.
Like, do something like what you were trying to do with Gotham Knights. Just make it way more, like, the combat needs to be way stronger. The traversal needs to be way stronger. But I think in the side quests, like I think the idea of that isn't bad, actually. But just make it more in line with, like, what if we made a co-op experience of the Arkham games? Like, and like you could make a single player game, which I think they should do Arkham Beyond, which is Batman Beyond storyline, just Arkham combat, brand new character. I think that's what Rocksteady should do next. But if you're like, hey, I actually like the idea of what we were doing with Suicide Squad, just get rid of the fucking gunplay aspect of you trying to be like every other looter shooter and just do what you guys do best and try to make that a really well done co-op experience with a Teen Titans game. I think that would be fucking sick, dude. Like
Either that, so you could go the Teen Titans route, you can go the Batman Beyond route, or you pretty much just said it already. Hit up Dick Grayson in Bloodhaven, like flesh out more
that
of
would be so cool.
like the Arkham world. Spend time with Dick in his new Bloodhaven life, and then there's plenty of Bat Family. I would love to reel away from the Bat Family. Like, I recognize how strong it is because like Batman's like the most grounded superhero, so like the gameplay can be simply you beating the shit out of people in probably one of the most satisfying combats and like one of the best traversals. But yeah, dude, like the thing that holds up DC gaming at all is Batman. I would love to see them break out of that. Teen Titans would be the best, like just outside of Batman.
But it's popular enough that people would buy it.
I agree.
People would buy it, dude. Oh, like think about it. You know how like in Arkham Knight you would like hit an enemy up and be like, do L1 for tag team,
and then fucking
he would
Beast Boy like turns into T-Rex form, like does a front flip tail spike.
Dude, but like, what if you're like, there's a whole room of enemies, you're fighting, I'm fighting, like and that's the thing you'd have to kind of communicate, be like, yo, fucking get this guy. And then I launch him in the air, boom, you get him, I fucking work. Like, but you have to communicate that because then you won't know when I'm about to set you up for basically an alley-oop. That's basically what the combat system would be. You would basically be like, I'm juggling, countering and fucking bouncing around, getting my streak up. But like, let's combine our combo streaks by alley-ooping these enemies together. That'd be so fucking sick.
That's
dude.
actually like, and then because the Teen Titans get bigger as seasons go on. Like there's like the Titans West Tower or whatever. So you get like you get the Bumblebee chick. I can't remember her name. You get Kid Flash. You get like a couple other Titans. You get Speedy. So yeah, maybe like an Ultimate Alliance style, but also like a bit more depth of combat, closer to an Arkham.
Yeah, dude.
Like somewhere in between there, I feel like there's something there.
Dude, the more we're talking about it, I'm like, why aren't they doing that? Like, that's fucking, if you want to make a comeback, Rocksteady, that's what I think.
Dude, hit us up, bro. Like we could like,
dude, for real.
Like me and this guy, like, good game mechanics, establish some pretty good shit,
dude,
and then like, narrative as well.
Yeah, dude, like, but they already have the ingredients there. Just take the ideas you did in Arkham Knight with the fucking tag team system. Instead of it being a fucking AI that does it with you, just try to make that work with co-op. Like,
yeah, that's why I'm pissed off at Warner Brothers, because they have all these good tools, they just refuse to use them.
Dude, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm so pissed with fucking Suicide Squad. I'm like, how did you guys become this? Like, what the fuck is this game, dude? And now it's free. You literally can just get it for free this month. Or last month, I think.
Rest in peace. I mean, there's plenty of, like, studios that are closing. Like, AAA is not what it used to be. But I think we can save that for maybe another podcast to wrap up. Maybe have a little bit of a lunch break. This has been lovely. I'm happy we could get back to the podcast in the way that we have.
100%.
And dude, we've been fucking bulk recording, but I think we can end things here. I think we're going to hit up the bar. I'm going to have a little bit of a lunch break before that. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and happy to be back on the podcast. If you guys want, you can check out the rest of the channel. We have a bunch of other stuff. And if you guys have any suggestions for stuff that you would like us to talk about in the next podcast or future episodes or whatever it may be, let us know in the comments down below. We'll hopefully get to them. And yeah, you can check out this guy at CodeMeisterP or CodeMeister_P, depending on where you're looking. And he's got all kinds of good music stuff. You can catch his streams. He's a very solid streamer. Catch him out, stop in, show your support.
And you guys can do the same with him at Sen on his YouTube channel or XG_Sen on his Twitch. You can go check out all the fighting game stuff that he was talking about or other games that he may be potentially streaming. Also check out Crouch Block. He mentioned that earlier. We didn't really talk about it on this podcast, but one of my favorite quests on Fallout 4 was called the Silver Shroud, which was a reference to the Gray Ghost from the animated series of Batman. And he made a whole video talking about that. We've talked about it on other videos on this channel, but if that interests you, go check out that video. It's the latest video as of right now on that channel, and it's getting a lot of traction. Go show some support.
I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.